Let's do that. Let's see if I can find some music. Let's go. It's, of course, copyright-free music, in case anyone's wondering. In case YouTube and Facebook are listening. Let's see what this is. No, I don't want that. Go ahead and share, like, and subscribe while you're here. We're going to get started with the conversation. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, everybody. Legacy, this is not where you park your car, where you still come to the right place. Yeah, I like this. Oh, yeah, some good music here. Just a little music to hold us over till everybody gets in the room. Oh, I got to put my headphones on. Hey guys, do you mind giving me a second? I hate to do this, but I left my headphones on the other side of the house. So I'm gonna put some music on and just keep sharing, keep subscribing and all that stuff. I need to run and get my my headphones, and I'll be right back and we'll get started. All right. Somebody said, "Who's the artist?" It's just a collection of samples that I've been purchasing over the years. I don't even know. I don't even know who that artist is anymore. I purchased it last year, but I'll find out and make sure I bring it for the next go round. Okay, it's a little too tight right there. I gotta breathe. All right. Let's get started. Thanks everybody showing up. Let me make sure my mic is popping. You gave me 5. Houston is in the house. It's Cam, I see you, Cam. Ebro Chin, Cynthia is in the house. Deborah Godoy is already ready to talk about Donald Trump faking it. That's the major breaking news right now. The Commission on Presidential Debates has canceled the October 15th debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And it is a result of Donald Trump refusing to participate in a virtual debate. Donald Trump, I played the clip last night. I'll play it again so that you can remember. Donald Trump basically explaining why he wasn't going to participate in a debate was because they'll be able to cut his mic off. That's the reason. And he's more interested in being able to control the debate through his bellicosity, his boorish oafishness. I'm just throwing it. That's how he performs. So he can't have a civilized conversation where you just discuss the policy differences. He has to be abrasive and offensive in order for him to have any level of performance. And he said as much last night. And because of that, the Commission on Presidential Debates has canceled at least until further notice. All right, here's a clip of Donald Trump last night. Here's a clip of Donald Trump last night telling us why he refused to participate in a debate. Take a listen in.
But I'm not going to do a virtual debate. So Mr. President, you're not going to do it because the CPD, the Commission on Presidential Debates, announcing this morning that the second presidential debate will be virtual. Are you saying you're not going to participate?
No, I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. That's not what debating's all about. You sit behind a computer and do a debate. It's ridiculous. And then they cut you off whenever they want.
Okay, that last part is worth me rewinding. Listen to it again.
And then they cut you off whenever they want.
That's the main thing. He does not want them to be able to cut him off whenever they want. Oh, this looks crazy. Yeah, somebody could in the comment section could have told me my jank was looking janky. It'll have to do. I'll fix it another time. That's why he refuses. So understand his strategy is to make a complete scene out of everything. That said, here is a clip that I want you to see. Before I play this clip, here's the other thing. The other thing is that you have to have a certain level of sociopathy to insist on exposing people to a deadly virus. You know, that takes it to a whole nother level. And I know I'm not saying anything profound or new, but it's just extremely disturbing to see that this is what he really wants to do. Same thing with Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. The South Carolina debate has also been canceled because Lindsey Graham refuses to be tested for COVID-19. Like, there's a consistent theme here. It is the insistence on putting people at risk above everything else. It is the insistence on putting people at risk. For no other reason. There is no other reason. Because if you have COVID-19, I think that's something you want to know so that you can get a fighting chance, period. So refusing to be tested is completely asinine. Here's Donald Trump talking about... here's Donald Trump in his appearance tonight. This is his first televised appearance. Let's take a listen in.
That you had last Friday, like when you went into Walter Reed, what were the two most prominent symptoms that you had?
I think didn't feel strong, didn't feel really strong. I didn't have a problem with breathing, which a lot of people seem to have. I had none of that, but I didn't feel very strong. I didn't feel very vital. I didn't feel like the president of the U.S. should feel. And I knew there was something a little bit off. And the doctors at Walter Reed were incredible. They came from Johns Hopkins. They came from everywhere. It's good to be president, I guess, but they were really great people. But I would say more weakness than anything else, Mark.
Let's keep going with the next one.
And right now I'm medication free. I'm not taking any medications as of, probably 8 hours ago or so. I'm medication free, which frankly makes me feel good. I don't like medication.
Mr.
And then one more clip of his interview tonight that just basically shows you, well, what you already know about this president.
Were you scared? Were you frightened?
Well, I took the Regeneron, and Eli Lilly makes a very similar medicine, but you have Regeneron, you have the Eli Lilly version of it. And it just, within a period of 24 hours, I felt very different. I think I could have left the hospital a lot earlier. But it made a tremendous difference, Mark, and markedly so. And I just felt very good. You would have sort of a sore throat, just to add to what we were saying, but I felt really very, very good after taking this for a period of time. It's a transfusion, not a shot.
All right, so that's the president of the United States describing his experience with the medication. Now, all that said, all that he's gone through, he still refuses to protect other people from potentially going through the same thing that he went through. He refuses to do a virtual debate, and so the debate has been canceled. I think this is, I'm trying to think of another time that a debate has been canceled in the past. Certainly in my lifetime, this is the only debate that I can think of that has been canceled, and certainly for the reasons that it has been canceled, and especially because of the ridiculousness of Donald Trump being the root of why it was canceled. I'm curious what you all think. Here's the other side of it. I think it's a win-win. It's a win-win for Joe Biden. Here's why it's a win-win for Joe Biden. If he shows up and they have a debate and it's virtual, Donald Trump is going to be contained and constrained, and he's going to have no choice but actually talk about substance. And if Donald Trump ever starts talking about substance, well, he can't talk about substance. That's the whole thing. He's going to be straight out of luck, right? He's not going to be able to maintain 2 hours of conversation about policy without making a scene. And so a virtual debate would completely destroy him. If he doesn't show up and there is no debate, it works out for Joe Biden because Joe Biden is up in the polls, right? Joe Biden is already double digits up in the polls, which makes him, gives him a significant advantage. Donald Trump is the one that needs to show up. Donald Trump is the one who needs to show up and to outperform Joe Biden so he can make some grounds, right? He can gain some ground on this, on the loss. He's behind. The third way it's a win for Joe Biden is if for whatever reason they do have an in-person debate, which I don't think they should, but if they did, Donald Trump seems to think that his performance actually is a net benefit for him. But Frank Luntz, I said this last night, but I have the headline. I want to put the headline on your screen. Frank Luntz, who is a conservative pollster, did a snap poll after the last debate and asked, how would you describe the president? And I want you to look at this headline from the Washington Post. Trump's debate performance was described this way by undecided voters. Crackhead. Bruh. Crackhead. Arrogant, un-American, and forceful. So even then, it is a win-win for Joe Biden. If they have a debate in person, which they're not, people will see that Donald Trump is a crackhead. No offense to crackheads. I'm sorry to make that equivalence. They drew that line between crackheads and Donald Trump, but we get it. Arrogant, un-American. So this is a win-win for Donald Trump, for Joe Biden. Now, here's the Hail Mary that Donald Trump is throwing. Donald Trump is throwing a Hail Mary in that he is decided, he's backtracked on the stimulus package. And if I remember the headline that I saw earlier, he's already approved a $1.8 trillion stimulus package for Americans, which is going to send out checks before the election. And the only question is like, will the checks be big enough for people to say, oh boy, look, Donald Trump has sent me another $1,200 check. That might shave off a couple of votes for him. But, I don't think it's going to nearly be enough. It will not nearly be enough for him to overcome the double-digit lead that Joe Biden has, especially if they don't do any debates. And the only way that would help him is if he manages to actually have some substance about him when he shows up for the next debate. All right, leave your comments in the comment section. I'm going to start sharing on the screen. Be sure to click like, share, and subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on. Let's cross-pollinate. And then we're going to move on to the next story. Just 1 second here. Yeah, let's move on a little bit. I want to get your comments in here. Judith, I appreciate, it's Friday night. It's Friday night. It's the appropriate time and place for a glass of wine. So have one with me. This is hilarious. Jason said on Twitter, that Trump can't stimulate anything. It's certainly not an intellectual conversation. The funny thing, I like this. 45 Lies on YouTube said, press 3 for undecided. It makes no sense at this point. I'm not one. I don't like worship undecided voters, because at this point you're undecided. You're playing a game. You're running a con. You're trying to just be able to get on television and say, oh yeah, I'm so undecided, so everybody cater to me. Nah. At this point in 2020, the year of our Lord 2020, with COVID-19, with all of the disasters, the 45 million people unemployed, if you are undecided at this point, you're running a con. I don't even believe it. Are there any undecided voters in this audience? Not to mention the taxes. We haven't forgot about the taxes. I know we've moved on as a country, right? But we haven't forgotten about the fact that the president of the United States has only paid $750 in taxes for the first 2 years of him being president. Lord, you guys have no mercy in the chat room. Marcy said, what about a chicken head? Do we see him as a chicken head? I have no comment whatsoever about that. I'm just going to put it on the screen. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Too little, too late. In terms of him trying to make up ground, I agree. It's entirely too little and too late. Trump is holding help hostage from Sid on the Facebook. That's an excellent point. He's holding the hostage. This is a Hail Mary. He held it hostage, and somebody on his team was like, look, this is your best shot of getting reelected without actually stealing the election. And so this is what he's trying. This is what he's decided to do. Let's see a couple other comments in this chat room. I asked if there were any undecided voters. Aaron on Facebook said, hell no. I decided the day he won the election that he had to go in 2020. Didn't care who ran for Democrat. I was voting for them. I feel that. There was a great super chat that just came in. Let me get this on the screen. In reference to someone calling him a chicken head, John Awesome said, chickens have better hair. Look, it's Friday night. I'm hoping you are having a glass of wine with me, or beer, whatever you're drinking, or even a cup of water. We have plenty of space for jokes like that tonight, because that's how ridiculous it is. We're gonna dig in deep. We're gonna do like we always do. But please send me more dad jokes, because Henry on Facebook says that undecided voters are closet racists. That's interesting. I never really can consider that. Jake on YouTube said, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe. Do that for me. Everybody hit the share button, hit the like button, and if you're not already a subscriber, let's subscribe. I want to play a clip. Let's jump in to this next clip. This is Donald Trump on Rush Limbaugh. I have not edited it, so there is an F-bomb in here, but it goes by pretty fast. I don't imagine at 9 o'clock, 9:30, 9:45 that you have your kids up watching this with you, so I feel like we're okay. So take a listen to this clip of Donald Trump on Rush Limbaugh, and he's referencing Iran. And I want you to listen to the bellicose language, and let's discuss.
Right. And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
It was short, but let's run it back.
Right. And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. The cussing did not bother me at all. It's actually pretty cool, the cussing, because I cuss like a sailor. The context is absolutely terrifying. Now, I could speak about the hypocrisy of the profanity in terms of the evangelical church calling him their savior. But as a person who identifies with profanity, my personal identification is profanity. I don't feel like it's my place to call out the hypocrisy around profanity, because that would be hypocritical of me. I actually kind of liked it. The context is absolutely terrifying. Put aside my coyness. I want you to consider the fact that if Iran had not been the reasonable, measured, more diplomatic actors in the tense confrontations between the United States and Iran since Donald Trump became president. I want you to recall back Michael Flynn, who was since found guilty or pled guilty. I can't remember if he was found guilty or pled guilty. So many people in Donald Trump's administration have been prosecuted. Michael Flynn, the second week after Donald Trump was elected, and after the inauguration, rather, Michael Flynn came and put Iran on notice. The Trump administration has had a bloodlust to go after Iran since day one. Now, Trump himself may not want to get into a hot war with Iran, but what he did was take Iran out of the joint take America out of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the Iran nuclear deal. The Iran nuclear deal negotiated by the Obama administration and Secretary of State John Kerry. And what that Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action really was meant to do was to give Iran a way a pathway to come from being, pause, let me put this in more context. There's a lot of history that we would have to go through, and there's a lot of culpability that America has in Iran being what it is right now. I don't want to go through the entire history right now because it's Friday night and we're drinking wine and like I want to get to the fun stuff. But just let it be known that the Iranian Revolution was a direct result of a CIA coup in Iran, right? So the big bad monster that everyone is afraid of in Iran today is the direct result of American actions, I think circa 1954. When the United States instituted a coup and installed their Shah, America's man. I just want to give you that context because I'm going to say things that really require that context. America, through Barack Obama and John Kerry, 50 years, 45 years after the coup, gave Iran a pathway to come back into the international capitalism and American imperialism is generating for the elite in every single country, not necessarily the poor people in every single country. That's an entirely different conversation that I would love to have with you about how capitalism is a benefit for every country that it has elite in them, but exploits the poor. But that's not the conversation. Barack Obama gave a pathway through John Kerry, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the Iranian nuclear deal, to get Iran off of the edge of being a pariah, of being on the outside, and give them a pathway to become a part of the international fold. Now, if you set aside all of the historical baggage and the fact that it's the fault of the United States that Iran is in the situation that it is now, right? The Iranian Revolution was a necessary action from the Iranian perspective because of what America did in 1954. If you set all of that aside, then you would see that this was a good deal for everybody. It was a good deal because it gave America a pathway to ensure that Iran is not a pariah with a nuclear weapon, not on the outside with nothing to lose. Oh, and by the way, they have nuclear weapons. It was a smart deal. It was a necessary deal. It was a good deal. And Donald Trump fucked it up. All right. He absolutely came in, undermined it, pulled out, and now Iran is on a pathway towards getting nuclear weapons. And oh, by the way, they're still on the outside of the international community, so they don't have an incentive to protect. That's the key thing. Like with North Korea and Iran, if they are on the outside, here's the in crowd. They're on the outside and they have nothing to lose. Because, oh, by the way, America is imposing sanctions on them and hurting them economically. And there's a level of poverty in those countries that's a direct connection to the United States as well, right? So now they have nothing to lose and they have nuclear weapons. What is a very high likelihood with a country that is starving, nothing to lose, has no incentive of protecting this international order that we all benefit from? And oh, by the way, they have nuclear weapons. Donald Trump is so myopic that he was more interested in undoing everything that Barack Obama did, such that he put the entire international order at risk by unilaterally pulling out of the Iranian nuclear deal and giving Iran a justifiable reason to go and say, okay, well, if you're not going to deal, then we'll just go ahead and build our nuclear armaments. This is the last bit of context and history that I would give you before I read some comments, and we're going to keep it light. We'll keep it light. It's Friday night. But there's a concept in international relations theory. It's been a while. I don't speak any Latin. I just know this Latin phrase, so I'm going to mess it up. Pacta sunt servanda. And it means agreements must be kept. And the context for that is no matter who's in power, a treaty that is signed by one president must be kept by the next president. And once you break that, then you break international norms And it says to Iran, since Donald Trump was able to come in and break the treaty that Barack Obama signed, we have no incentive of ever believing that America will keep their agreements. So a fundamental tenet of international relations is that agreements must be kept. Now, all of that context, here's why this clip is so disturbing. And I'll play it again because I gave you so much backstory. It's so disturbing because here we have on full display the fact that Iran, if it had not been for Iran being a reasonable, rational, international actor, being level-headed. I mean, we killed their general. Donald Trump did an illegal drone strike, killing one of Iran's top generals. And what did Iran do? They were measured. They were reasonable, and they did not respond. A lot of people say, oh, they don't want to respond because they don't want to F with the United States of America. Do you really want to play that game with a nation who's on the outside of the inside clique, right? Of the international, they're on the outside. They have nothing to lose. And oh, by the way, they have nuclear weapons. Do you really want to play the bellicose game? The clip that I played from Rush Limbaugh just shows you, I don't care about the profanity. Profanity is nothing. It shows you that we have someone who is not a stable, reasonable, rational actor leading this country. And if it wasn't for Iran being a measured, reasonable actor, which I'm not surprised by, I think a lot of people are like, oh, Iran, they're boogeymen. No, they're not boogeymen at all. That is just the otherification that has been necessary to justify our 1954 coup, but that's a whole different conversation. I understand them being reasonable, rational actors because generally speaking, most humans can be reasonable, measured, rational actors, but we do not have one in the White House right now. So if it wasn't for Iran in this calculation, no, we would certainly be at war. So now I want you to listen to this clip again through those ears. Listen to this clip again and listen how the president of the United States, who unilaterally pulled us out the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, unilaterally alienated Iran when they had an opportunity to bring them out of the cold into the international fold, and they could have been a potential ally in the future. Like we once, just because you're an enemy in 2020 doesn't mean that you can't be an ally in 2030. And this is what the president of the United States went on Rush Limbaugh to say.
Right. And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
That's the American way. That's the Donald Trump American way. And that's another reason. We always talk about the domestic policies. But there on the international stage, there are just as many reasons we need to get rid of Donald Trump on the international stage as there are domestic reasons that we need to get Donald Trump off the international stage. All right, let's read. I feel like we had a lot of comments. So let's take a look at all these super chats that have come in. Let me see. Where do I begin? 1048. That was from last night. So let's go here. I'm gonna start at the bottom and work my way back, guys. Ooh, that's tiny. That's small. Let me channel Tim Pool and make a this is from John Awesome on YouTube. He says, let me channel Tim Pool. Tim Pool is a conservative propagandist. And make a Marvel reference. Zemo in Civil War had nothing left to lose and destroyed the Avengers. Now, I know some of you are glossed over and like, what? But this is actually very poignant. John, this is actually very poignant. What was that? Avengers Civil War. If you've seen Avengers Civil War, the bad guy in the Civil War was a man who lost everything. And because he lost everything, he wanted to destroy everything. This is what he's referencing. And so Iran, if we continue to push them into a corner where they lose everything, sanctions, we've sanctioned them into oblivion, we've alienated them, we've embargoed them, they can't trade. We sanction people who do business with them. If Germany chooses to do business with Iran, we would sanction Germany, right? And so if America continues to alienate Iran like this, and you have this madman in the White House then he would be like Zemo from Avengers Civil War with nothing to lose. So thank you for that. Kron on YouTube said, also fun fact, it was Edward Bernays' nephew, the architect of the Iran coup. I didn't know that. Thank you for that fun fact. 3 growlers of IPA awaiting me. This is Kron also. He said 3 growlers of IPA awaiting me at curbside pickup. Hashtag Iran. Cheers. Enjoy your IPA. Let's keep going. John Awesome, I saw this earlier. Chickens have better hair. Linda Cooper, thank you for this super chat. No comment, but thank you for the super chat. Dango Bango said, how long until Trump complains canceling the election because it won't be fair? Any day now. That's the next step. Truth Teller 292, thank you for subscribing on Twitch with Prime. It's actually not difficult. I did it today. I subscribed to TYT on Twitch with my Prime account so that I could watch the interview I did with them last night. It was a great interview. If I have to say so myself, I really enjoyed it. But it's pretty easy. So all you have to do is create a Twitch account and connect the Twitch account. It automatically connects to your Amazon Prime account. And then you go subscribe for free. It costs you nothing. You can support this stream. You can support what we're doing here. And it takes $5 from Jeff Bezos and it gives it to us so that we can continue doing this work. It costs you nothing. Subscribe to us on Twitch with Prime. Holdar sent some cheered with some bits. And let me keep moving to see if there's anything else here. I missed the rest of these from last night. E.F. Strauss, thank you for subscribing to Prime, with Prime. Congressional baseball fan, subscribe with a 1 month for 1 tier. Thank you for doing that. L Fudge subscribed on Twitch. And Holdar, thank you again for doing what you do and becoming give me some cheers. All right, let's see. I'm gonna get some comments out of the comment section. How about the U.S. resolves its wars at home first? I would like for them to resolve their wars abroad as well as at home. How about no war? How about there's not a need for war because we generate enough wealth for every single person on the face of the planet to have what they need to survive. And not only survive, but to thrive. But because, like I said, capitalism benefits every single country, it just benefits the elites. And because the elites have to have more and more and more and more, they have to find another country to exploit. If you look at what we did in Iraq, Iraq was not about 9/11. Iraq was about not only the oil, but the exploitation, the general exploitation of an entire nation for capitalism. So let's get rid of our wars at home, our domestic problems, but also let's get rid of our foreign wars as well. Let's keep reading. I missed this one. Bose Einstein 7 says that, thank you for the super chat. He said, also Trump betrayed the Kurds, pulling the U.S. troops, emboldening Erdogan to back I can never pronounce that one. Azerbaijan. Next time, give me the phonetic spelling. To fight Armenia. Armenia has Iran, Russia allies to defend. Thank you for that. The first part is the one that I've actually paid so much attention to over the years. The Kurds, the Kurdish fighters that fought alongside American soldiers in northern Syria were completely betrayed by Donald Trump and abandoned by Donald Trump. They lost 10,000 fighters fighting alongside the United States to push back ISIS. So when Donald Trump brags about us defeating ISIS, it was American soldiers in conjunction with the Kurds who lost 10,000 people in that fight to destroy ISIS. And what did Donald Trump do? He pulled out our troops, which helped the president of Turkey, Erdogan, because Erdogan is another Donald Trump-styled right-wing authoritarian strongman dictator. And Erdogan got on a phone call with Donald Trump one night, and then the next morning he was pulling out troops, which gave Erdogan the ability. International relations might not be your thing, but it kind of sort of really is my thing. It's like, I can't pronounce all of the countries and all the actors because, my second language is hood, right? I'm just saying, that's my second language. But I've studied this, and I've studied it extensively for years. And by Donald Trump betraying the Kurds, it allowed Turkey to come and seize territory that the Kurds had in an autonomous zone. And this was a betrayal like no other, because it left the Kurdish fighters open to be slaughtered by Erdogan. It had no strategic purpose for America, except for Donald Trump's new friend, the dictator of Turkey. Dictator is a loose term in this conversation, but the authoritarian strongman in Turkey, Erdogan. That's it. There was no, the generals, American generals were against it. The troops on the ground were so against it that they had to be threatened with reprimand to carry out their orders to retreat and to leave their friends that they had been fighting alongside, seeing 10,000 of them killed, to leave them open to have to fight Turkey by themselves. So yeah, thank you for that, even though I completely massacred that word. I'm not even going to try again. Sorry, folks. I know somebody's good enough to have given me the phonetic spelling in here. Deborah on Facebook, I think you're right. I think there's a connection there. Absolutely. Bush betrayed the Kurds. Here's the thing about the Kurds. Their story is so fascinating. If you ever get a chance, look up the Peshmerga. I know I don't pronounce it right, but Peshmerga and the fighters from Kurdistan. Kurdistan is not an officially recognized nation, but it is ethnic Kurds, and they occupy territory in northern Syria, portions of Turkey. I'm forgetting my geography, but and this is why they're a threat, right? They're autonomous, and I like them not only because they are like an experiment in. It's just a fascinating experiment. They have liberated and given rights to women that other nations in the region have yet to do, right? Some of their best fighters are women, right? And of course that's like sounds ridiculous here in America, but in the region, that's a big thing. Some of their toughest and most fiercest fighters, some of the biggest victories. It is a fascinating experiment in a type of democracy that has collectivism at the core of it. It's the collectivism at the core of it that shows a level of humanity that you don't see in average democratic experiments. And the fact that they have been loyal to the United States, despite the fact that the United States has not been loyal to them. All right, let's move on. I don't want you guys to gloss over too much. Let's go to another clip. One more. Oh, no, a couple more. Got a couple more. Yeah, so we talked about Trump betraying the Kurds. Here's another super chat from Paradise on YouTube. Paradise Leahy. She said Iran was enriching uranium for atomic power, but it could also be used for a nuclear weapon. They didn't have any yet, and they waited 1 year to resume program. Right? It is an objective fact that Iran was carrying their weight in the deal. I want you to just if you don't remember anything else, Iran was carrying their weight and holding up their side of the Iranian nuclear deal. Donald Trump effed it up. Noan Exo Doodle, thank you for subscribing on Twitch with Prime. Carrie Jones Fiona on YouTube said, I heard some British TikTokers say they'll be here when we need bailing out, but like can colonizers help a land they colonized? That's interesting. Can colonizers help a land they colonized. Speaking of Kurdistan. Azerbaijan. Yeah, Azerbaijan, thank you. I still can't do it. They gave me the phonetic spelling and I still can't do it. But I know all about I know all about it. All right, let's get to this next video. This next video, if I'm not mistaken, is Donald Trump. Well, actually, no. This is Mike Pompeo. This is the one that got me. This one brought my blood pressure up a little bit today. This is Mike Pompeo. Trying to take us back to 2016, folks. They desperately want to relitigate the fight against Hillary Clinton. And this is Mike Pompeo doing his part. Listen in.
State of this investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails at the State Department.
So, Dana, you'll remember I was close to this even when I was a member of Congress, when I served on the Benghazi committee now, what seems like a little bit time ago. We've got the emails. We're getting them out. We're going to get all this information out so the American people can see it. You'll remember there was classified information on a private server. It should have never been there. Hillary Clinton should never have done that. It was unacceptable behavior. It's not the kind of thing that leaders do. They don't put that kind of information out, and you can see whether it's Russia or China or Iran or the North Koreans who want to get their hands on this kind of information. Classified information needs to stay in the right places. Secretary Clinton, when she was here at the State Department, did not do that.
The president has the authority to declassify anything he wants. All authority is to him. Could he declassify it and order it released if he wanted to and if he ordered?
Absolutely. We're going to get there. We're going to get this information out so the American people can see it.
If he were to order that, would there be concerns about maybe health and safety of sources or methods that could possibly be in these emails if there's classified information?
So, Dana, I've been at this a long time with President Trump for 4 years now almost. I've never seen him do anything that would put any kind of asset, any kind of one of our officers in any harm's way. He wouldn't do that. We'll get the information out that needs to get out, and we'll do it in a way that protects the intelligence sources that we need to protect.
And last question on that, will that happen before the election?
Doing it as fast as we can. I certainly think there'll be more to see before the election.
All right.
Okay. They're desperate. I'm not even going to let that make me upset. They are so desperate. They have nothing. And now they've gone back to Hillary's emails. And nobody cares. Like, I think the biggest takeaway of this is that nobody cares. Who cares about Hillary's emails? Hillary's not running for president. This is how desperate, this is how pathetic this is. And Fox News is putting it on there. It is so pathetic that it probably isn't even being repeated. I doubt it was repeated on mainstream, on their primetime hour. Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. Nobody cares about this Mike Pompeo. Number one, nobody cares. Number two, Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, is using his position as a political weapon, not as the top diplomat of the United States of America. So not only does nobody care, but what we should care about and what the real controversy here is, obviously it's not Hillary Clinton's emails. Nobody cares. The real controversy is that our top diplomat is using his power for political purposes to try to sandbag the 2020 election as if it's sandbaggable with this news about Hillary's emails. It's pathetic. Number three, it's really pathetic because it shows a level of desperation that a person who's down by 20 or down by double digits is willing to go to in order to try throw a Hail Mary. This is the quintessential Hail Mary. They hope and they think that they will find something in those emails that will be such a controversy that it will spill over to Joe Biden. I'm going to be very interested in see how they're going to make this, even if there's a bombshell in this, how do you make it stick to Joe Biden in a significant enough fashion to overcome a double digit lead? It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. But it's also dangerous. It's also dangerous because Donald Trump has Mike Pompeo over at the State Department, using him as a tool, a political weaponized tool, using taxpayer resources, using their official government capacity to wage a political war. He has William Barr at the Department of Justice demanding that William Barr prosecute and indict Barack Obama and Joe Biden. This was on Rush Limbaugh earlier today. I don't have that clip, but earlier today, Rush Limbaugh was asking him about indicting the past president for an attempted coup. He has a Department of Homeland Security marching through the streets of this country as his secret police in unmarked vehicles, unidentified uniforms, snatching protesters off the street. He used those same federal agents to go and kill a left-leaning protester by the name of Michael Reinhold. See, the further we go on this, the darker and the grimmer it gets. The darker the reality really is. The fact that Donald Trump has no reservation about using people in their official government capacity to execute political grudges. Now, the scarier part is that he has people in those positions who are more than happy to execute those grudges. That's the scariest part. Mike Pompeo looks giddy. I'll play the clip again. He looks excited about the opportunity to expose these Hillary Clinton emails. He's a political apparatchik. He's Donald Trump's henchman. And he happens to be the top diplomat in the entire country as the Secretary of State. William Barr, he does it with a grimace. He doesn't smile as much as Mike Pompeo, but he definitely does the same thing over at the Department of Justice. Acting Secretary Chad Wolf, or did they ever confirm him? Is he full Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security? He's more than happy to be a dapper Don. I mean, his suits fit perfectly. His hair is perfect. His shoes are fly. I got to give him shoe game. His shoe game is, but he's a dapper Nazi who's more than happy to send out Donald Trump's Gestapo out to kill protesters and to snatch them off the streets. So it's not just Donald Trump in this. It's also the fact that he has people who are complicit and they're willing to do it and they're happy to do it. Look at how happy William Barr is in this. It's worth playing again. I want you to notice how much he smiles in this exchange.
State of this investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails at the State Department.
So, Dana, you'll remember I was close to this even when I was a member of Congress when I served on the Benghazi committee now, what seems like a little bit time ago. We've got the emails. We're getting them out. We're going to get all this information out so the American people can see it. You'll remember there was classified information on a private server. It should have never been there. Hillary Clinton should never have done that. It was unacceptable behavior. It's not the kind of thing that leaders do. They don't put that kind of information out, and you can see whether it's Russia or China or Iran or the North Koreans who want to get their hands on this kind of information. Classified information needs to stay in the right places. Secretary Clinton, when she was here at the State Department, did not do that.
The president has the authority
He's
to
just smiling.
declassify anything he wants.
Look at how happy
all
he
authority
is.
is to him. Could he declassify it and order it released if he wanted to and if he ordered?
Absolutely. We're going to get there. We're going to get this information out so the American people can see it.
If he were to order that, would there be concerns about maybe health and safety of sources or methods that could possibly be in these emails if there's classified information?
So, Dana, I've been at this a long time with President Trump for 4 years now almost. I've never seen him do anything that would put any kind of asset, any kind of one of our officers in any harm's way. He wouldn't do that. We'll get the information out that needs to get out. And we'll do it in a way that protects the intelligence.
All right. Let's take a breather. I want to take a breather here. I got some music. It's copyright free. I paid for it to use it. So I just want you to vibe out. While we're vibing, say hello to somebody in the chat room. Meet somebody in the chat room. Also, click the like button, the share button, and we'll be right back. All right. I need a picture so I can disappear. Did you meet somebody? Did you meet somebody in the chat room? I want to make sure that you met somebody. Say hello to somebody in the chat room. Meet somebody new. Share, like, subscribe. Let's keep moving. It's Friday night. What's on y'all mind? This is a good question. What is Christie's status in the hospital? This has been an interesting thing. One of the interesting things about this moment is that we don't know how Chris Christie's doing. We don't know how William Barr is doing. All we know is that Donald Trump is hocked up on a whole lot of medicine. And this wire is hanging so long. It's just bothering me. I don't want you guys to see let's do that. I'll buy me an extender next week. This cable here just bothers me. So we don't know, we don't know how any of them are actually doing. Some of the top leaders in this country, especially William Barr and Donald Trump, we have a basic idea of how Donald Trump is doing. He has had an experimental treatment that utilized stem cells, which is something that evangelicals have been fighting against forever. And again, there's no point of us pointing out the hypocrisy of it because they're going to find a way to justify it because that's their goal. They just see somebody in Donald Trump that no matter how much he is antithetical to their religious beliefs, they found somebody in Donald Trump who would do their bidding, who would do whatever they want. So they're willing to let him get caught with a porn star. They don't care about that. They are willing to let him use profanity on a regular basis. That's the least of their worries because they probably cuss as much as I do. They don't care about the fact that he basically said that he has never even asked for forgiveness, which is the number one tenet of Christianity. That's like the number one thing. They don't care. All they care about is they have somebody in power that would do what they want. And so they will follow Donald Trump over the abyss into oblivion just for the sake of their power. So we have a president of the United States who is so hocked up on drugs that when he comes down, he might collapse even harder. And we don't know the condition of William Barr. We don't know the condition of Chris Christie. And you have Lindsey Graham refusing to get tested for COVID. And it really shows you the fact that they actually believe that they were superhuman. They really believe their own hype. See, I thought that they were pushing their supporters into destroying themselves with COVID-19. I didn't for a minute think that they were so deranged that they would destroy themselves. Like they really bought into their own hype. They really believe their own BS. I didn't think that they could possibly be that stupid. But I guess Jim Jones did drink the Kool-Aid himself, right? Like, how can you knowingly participate in your own destructive propaganda? Like, you gotta know. You have the intelligence file right in front of you, Donald Trump. You got to know this thing is serious. So why carry yourself in a way that's going to put you at risk of catching it and now you caught it? I think I'm genuinely asking this question because I don't quite have an answer for it. Why is it that the most sadistic people eventually drink their own Kool-Aid? I'm really curious. What do you think? Because I really haven't formulated my answer to that. It's just a kind of a question I thought of tonight. Why do you think it is that sadistic people drink their own Kool-Aid? Okay, correction. Marcy said no. Jim Jones actually shot himself. Well, that's even dumber. Like, bro, I mean, I don't know what a cyanide-laced Kool-Aid death is like, but I don't know. But Donald Trump drank his own Kool-Aid. Jim Jones didn't, but Donald Trump did. They're calling it the clown cult. Caitlin on YouTube called it the clown cult. Christina on YouTube says hi. Hi, Christina. I see you. Mauricio says he can't even get a second COVID test to see if he's clear. Man, I'm wishing you the best. I hope that you are recovering well. Thank you, Chunk on YouTube. Love the videos, man. Thank you. I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate you. This is great. Thank you for saying this. I don't know what context you're saying this on, Luna, Diana, but end times prosperity gospel. Are you saying that is that's why they're doing it? They're buying into it like they're trying to expedite the end times. But regardless, I have a video on Sunday, an interview on Sunday with Professor Anthea Butler. She's from the University of Pennsylvania. And we talked about that exact thing, the prosperity gospel, the end times, and how Christians are, evangelical Christians are the bad guys in the narrative of the end times. All this time, they thought that they were the good guys. But if you look at what's going on right now, you can't help but to identify the bad guys of this end time that we're living in. This is 100% the evangelicals who are falling their antichrist, wearing the mark of the beast on their head, make America great again. So that interview is going to play on Sunday. I'm going to premiere it on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you check that out. Tina on Facebook said, when you're in a real cult, you follow until you're dead. Janice said it like this. That's what happens when you get high on your own supply. Hey, Jada. TLK23 on YouTube said they thought Jesus would protect them. See, I'm a Christian, contrary to evangelicals' popular belief about me. I think Jesus is going to protect me. But faith without works is dead. I'm not going to go out unprotected. I'm not going to go out and be in not social distance. Matter of fact, I'm not going to go out at all. I went to go pick up a package today. I popped my trunk. They put it in the trunk. I tipped them really good on the app and boom. So you could think Jesus is going to protect you, but if you throw yourself into, off a building, ain't much he can do from heaven. I don't know what this conversation is going on, but please don't get Tammy started on flat earthers. There are probably a lot of Donald Trump supporters, but anyway. Nestor says, putrid, vile, malicious people want to die and take you with them. Interesting. Andrea, I'm curious. Andrea on Facebook said Trump supporters aren't brainwashed, they're indoctrinated. I'm curious to see what your distinction would be, because I usually use those two words interchangeable. This is the one. Ben Smeeks said toxic masculinity. Don't look weak at any cost. It's kind of funny. Is Lindsey Graham trying to not look weak at any cost? Is that why he's not going to take this COVID test to have the debate with Jamie Harrison in South Carolina? Because I hate to tell it to him, but Lindsey, you look weak regardless, right? You could come riding out here in a tank like Michael Dukakis did in 1988, and bro, you're gonna look weak regardless. So that toxic masculinity ain't really working out too well for you, Lindsey Graham. Y'all producers cut. Would you just cut that one section about Lindsey Graham and toxic masculinity? Because I want to tweet that to him and be petty like that. All right, let's keep going. Robin said Lindsay is let's see. I want to see if we have any good. Oh, you know what I need to do? Let me go and do my due diligence. Let's go into the super chat and the Twitch chat. Let me see where they marked. Chickens have better hair. 3 gallons of IPA. Also watch base. Also Trump. Thank you. Okay. Give me 1 second, folks. I'm just trying to find where we are. I think this is it right here. David. I'm sorry. No. Mean Beans on Twitch said, LOL, this is funny. Loeffler unveils resolution condemning Pelosi for comments on the 25th Amendment. Thank you. I completely forgot about that story. Let's talk about that. A debate between, this is from Mean Beans also. They said, a debate between Lindsey Graham and challenger Jamie Harrison got nixed after Graham refused to take a COVID-19 test. We discussed that. Brad Mara on Twitch said, one of the greatest sins of the Trump administration was abandoning, I'm sure they meant to say, the Kurds, and what they're doing in Rojava is important. And not a lot of people talk about it. Thank you. Listen, I may not be able to pronounce the names, but I do know the region, and I do know the complicated nature of it, and I do know how egregious it was for Donald Trump to abandon the Kurds like that. Anastasia Beaverhouse on Twitch said, yay, Benjamin Dixon, thanks for seeing my super chat. Yes, Iran was following all the rules. They really were. They really were. And what we have to do in our country, we have to reject the idea of whoever the government tells us is our enemy is our enemy. Whoever the government tells us is a bad guy is a bad guy. Iran was not the bad guy in this exchange. Now, you could debate the Iranian Revolution. I'm going to debate on the side of Iran, because there would not have been an Iranian Revolution. There would not have been an Ayatollah Khomeini if it was not for the Iranian coup that was committed by the United States of America. We cannot allow the government to tell us this is our enemy for this year, or this is our enemy for the next 50 years, because America has been doing that domestically for the longest. America has been telling you that Muslims, since 9/11, that's our enemy. This dispensation of American history, Muslims have been the domestic enemy that have been targeted by the propaganda and the dog whistles of this government. Before that, or right now, it's like immigrants make a recurring appearance, right? Immigrants get a recurring role in Who's the Bad Guy of the Week episodes, right? Because before and after, Muslims were immigrants. Before immigrants, African Americans. For an entire block of American history, we were the bad guys, and we continue to be. We have a recurring role as well, right? Our recurring role now is the boogeyman of Black Lives Matter. Ooh, you got to be scared of Black Lives Matter. They're fighting to keep police officers from killing us. Got to be careful, because if you if you allow the government to tell you who's your enemy on the international stage, then you're supporting the same power structure that's telling you who your enemy is here. Muslims, immigrants, Black Lives Matter. Before all that, black people in general, right? They had to make us criminal to get away with Jim Crow, to get away with slavery. The Native Americans, they had to make them barbaric in order to justify genocide. So in every era of American history, right? I mean, I kind of glazed over like the expansion west era, where the Chinese immigrants and their labor force were vilified. Hispanic people were also vilified during that time. Then you skip forward, you have the vilification of the Japanese people during World War II and their internment. At every juncture of American history, Americans, I'm sorry, and I don't want to leave out Irish people. Irish people are green now. They're white now, but they were green, right? They were looked at as villains. They were the dregs of American society. Now, there's a wonderful book, or is it an article? I can't remember, because I read everything online. How Irish people went from green to white. Pretty sure that's the book. But basically, it showed you how a group of people who were once the target. Oh, and also can't forget Catholics, right? There was a period in American history where Catholics were the villain. There was always going to be a period in American history where America's power structure dictates to you who the bad guy is for that generation. Right now, the bad guy for this generation domestically is Iran. Everybody agrees that they hate Iran, right? At least the previous administration tried to make an agreement with them to bring them out from the outside, but it's Iran. It's a little bit of China, but Donald Trump really don't want that smoke with China. So he talks a good game with China, but he's not going to make any moves against China like he made against Iran. But I've said this before on the show, and I think it's vitally important. White supremacy, the white male Christian power structure, which is protected by conservatism, needs a villain. They have to have a villain. There's not a single period in American history where they did not have a villain. That's because if they're not telling you who to be afraid of, it gives you enough time to realize who has been the villain all along. White male Christian supremacy. I'm on that stuff tonight, y'all. We kind of hitting hard. Like I didn't take y'all from international relations to domestic issues. Like you guys are getting some good stuff here, if I must say so myself. Here's a good comment. Young Green Bay. Hey, all right, Bay. Y2K says, exactly. The KKK in my area had to target Italians and Jews because there wasn't enough black people. They got to have a villain. They have to. I forgot about the Italians. Right? And here's the brilliance of white supremacy. Can I tell you how brilliant white supremacy is? Not in that they have such a great intellectual capacity. White supremacy has the ability to evolve and adapt. Right now, white supremacy is not represented by the KKK. See, in the early 20th century, early 1900s, it was represented by the KKK by virtue of the fact that, was it Harrison or Wilson? Woodrow Wilson, who played and screened Birth of a Nation at the White House, which is a white supremacist KKK film. So at the time, the KKK was the face of white supremacy, loudly and proudly. They marched down the streets of Washington, D.C. with their hoods on. But they had to evolve. And what they slowly evolved into over the years, besides taking over a political party, starting in one political party, evolving, switching to another political party. If anybody ever tells you, let me just learn you something. Let me just get just a little bit right here. A lot of people like to say, oh, the KKK was started by Democrats. It was. The KKK was started by Democrats. But ask me this question. Who do you think the KKK endorsed in 2008? Do you really think the KKK, because they started off as Democrats, endorsed Barack Obama? Do you really think the KKK endorsed in 2012 Barack Obama? I know for certain that the KKK, because I've seen the newspaper, the official paper of the newspaper of the KKK endorsed Donald Trump in 2016. So while they started off as Democrats, they are nice and comfortably at home with the Republican Party in 2020. Also, the Confederacy. There's a lot of conversation about, oh, the Confederacy was Democratic, right? And it was Abraham Lincoln, who was a Republican who saved the Union. Okay, check me out. Which party flies the Confederate flag? Go through the South and even some North, like in Boston, here in Boston. You can go to some parts of South Shore and you're going to see a Confederate flag. So it's not about North and South anymore. It's about a political identification. Which party is out here waving the the Confederate flag? The Republican Party is the Confederate flag waving party of 2020. So you can't tell me that they're the party of Lincoln when they're flying the flag of the treasonous Confederacy. But they try to play those games. I just wanted to give you that for free. At every stage in American history, American power structure has had to have a villain for you to be afraid of and for you to hate. And the point of the whole conversation, I know I skipped over one thing, but I'll come back to it. The point and the important part of this conversation is for you to reject the propaganda that's given to you from Washington, D.C., the propaganda that's given to you on the mainstream media, all of it, not just Fox News. MSNBC gets in there too. I'm just going to be honest with you. MSNBC, when Donald Trump decided to shoot missiles at the airport in Syria, it was Brian Williams who quoted a poet talking about how beautiful the missiles were. I'm sorry, what? That's because America's military industrial complex needs you to view everything that we do on the international stage through the lens of patriotism. They want you to sing the Star Spangled Banner as their $100,000 rapid fire missiles are firing. $100,000 a pop. Profit margins going up. Fortunes going up. Quarterly profits going up. And they need you to stand back with tears in your eyes, hand over your heart, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air. They need you to do that. And so it's not just a matter of the government telling you who your enemy is. It's also a matter of the news media telling you who your enemy is. And some of our favorites, not just MSNBC, CNN, and most certainly, yes, the crown jewel of propaganda, Fox News. They are here to tell you who your enemy is. But if we buy into who they tell us our enemy is on the international stage, then we are just emboldening what they're doing here domestically, making immigrants the enemy, making Muslims the enemies, making black people the enemy, making essential workers. Hell, they even made essential workers the enemy. So the point of all this is, if you don't have time to research it for yourself, you really won't fail in looking at who this government is telling you is your enemy and taking a step back and saying, they may not be my friend, but if America says they're my enemy, then I got to dig a little bit deeper, because chances are there's a profit margin for some military defense contractor in there. So, sorry. Deanna doesn't like her hair right now. Okay. Read actual books. One of the first books I would tell you to read was A People's History. There's a lot of great books that show you America's role in creating our own enemies. Let's see a couple other comments in here. You guys are staying here. Oh, yes, Jared Lewis. Thank you. The gay community. Like, they have a recurring role in who's the big bad wolf in this episode of Who America Tells You to Hate. The LGBTQ community. I forgot. Did I even mention Jewish people? Jewish people have a recurring role. I mean, and the anti-Semitism is so deeply rooted in this country. Like, it pops up in almost every community, man. Like, I regularly have to fight the anti-Semitism that I find everywhere. Not just from white supremacists and Nazis. That's a given, right? Not just by standard tropes, but I mean, the LGBTQ community, it's anybody they can other. Anybody they can blame. Anybody they can blame, they will make you their enemy. Socialists. I'm an enemy. I'm a socialist. Even though a lot of my socialist friends don't consider me socialist. I got to be careful. I kind of just, at this point, I reject all labels. Not because it's like a cool thing to say, I reject labels. But it's kind of like, you know, when I talk to my socialist friends, they're like, nah, Ben, you're like, you're a little too liberal. I talk to my liberal friends, they're like, oh, Ben, you always talking that socialism shit. Talk to my conservative associates. And they're like, oh, Ben, you sound like a communist. And talk to my communist friends, and they're like, nah, Ben, you just a neoliberal, man. Like, back up. So, it's fine. I don't fit in anybody's crowd. But they do make socialists the enemy of the day. What about human? Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly identify as a human. I would love to identify as a meta-human, but that's not really an option right now. I don't have anything that makes me a meta-human. But I get your point. I'm just messing with you. We are definitely. Somebody said we're definitely moving towards extinction, and then it left. It left my screen. I'm sorry, I wanted to put it on the screen. Let's read a couple more super chats. I've been missing the super chats. I don't want to miss them. Here's a good book. Yes, Ibram Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. That's a good book to read. Simmons 8519 on YouTube. Thanks for the super chat. He said, "Here's what's really scary. The Democrats won't fix the problems with the system that allow if they win when the Republicans return to power again." I say this all the time. I'm supporting Joe Biden, not because I believe Joe Biden is going to do a single thing that I won't done, but because Donald Trump would definitely destroy this country. And I don't mean hyperbolically. I mean literally, like that would be the end game. Like, democracy is over. When Donald Trump loses and Joe Biden wins, we got 2,000 people kicking it with us tonight. I don't expect to have 500 because I plan on speaking truth to power, whoever's in power, y'all. So one thing that irritates me about some of my friends on the left, if our job is to speak truth to power, then how could you omit speaking to the chief power right now, Donald Trump, Republican Party? They control this power structure in conjunction with their secondary power, which is the Democratic Party. I don't believe we should leave any of them out. The problems that need to be fixed is a product of the entire system. Both parties. My calculus had to change a little bit because of how devastating a second term of Donald Trump would be for democracy in general. So my calculus changes a little bit. And while I am best fitted to oppose neoliberalism because of what I fundamentally believe, right? What I fundamentally fight for makes me an ardent adversary for the Democratic establishment. It does. But I simply cannot ignore the existential threat that Donald Trump is. And so now I'm doing this extra show at night. This is in addition to my podcast. My podcast, I talk about the same stuff I talk about before doing this show, before decided to publicly push for Joe Biden. But I do this because, well, one, it's cathartic, and then two, because I just need everyone to hear very clearly the fact that we're all hands on deck to defeat Donald Trump. A lot of socialists, most leftists, most Bernie Sanders supporters. There's some of us out there that are still disillusioned and just are not going to do it, and that's fine. I'm not going to vote shame them, but the majority of us clearly see the threat that Donald Trump is, and we have committed our time, our reputations, and our platforms to fight back against this monster. But once we defeat him, we got to pick up our rhetorical arms and continue the fight against the very system that created Donald Trump. Our problems don't go away with Donald Trump. But at least we don't destroy our democracy by allowing him to stay in power. I would rather fight neoliberalism than neo-fascism any day. Let's read a couple more comments. Glenda Ryan said, I would like to hear your opinions why conservatives think globalism is a horrible concept. Cooperation and coordination of resources makes sense to me. Nationalism is little more than a perpetuation of narrow-mindedness and elitism. Cheers. That's that. Globalism is their new way of saying two things at the same time. It's an anti-Semitic dog whistle referencing Jews controlling the world, and it is an evangelical dog whistle signifying a new world order. Simply put, globalism is just the invisible enemy that they can always point to, that most of their supporters can't quite define, but to their supporters, they just know it's bad. I really want to talk about the B side of your question. Cooperation and coordination of resources makes sense to me. Nationalism is little more than a perpetuation of narrow-mindedness and elitism. It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is the future of humanity, then you immediately see that we're going to have a level of cooperation that transcends nationalism. I don't think that we would ever get in our lifetime or in the distant future a stateless society or a one world government where we're all working together. I don't think that's going to come, because nationalism can always be stirred up and used as an organizing tool to create dissent and chaos. In other words, if I could simplify it using pop culture, Star Trek, we'll never get to a one world society from which we can build a level of cooperation where we could reach the stars, because there are going to always be demagogues in every single nation or former nation state that can then organize around the lack of nationalism or organize against the one world order or one world order, whatever. We're going to have to get to a place where we have universal participation from individual units. And what I mean by that is, conceptually, what we thought the UN was going to be, what Woodrow Wilson thought the League of Nations was going to be, right? Where you have a collection of independent, autonomous nations that operate together to create unity, to do projects globally. But the League of Nations went the way of the dinosaur, and the United Nations has basically become a tool of America and America's imperialism and capitalism, money. Eventually, though, there has to become, this is difficult to describe, because here's the question. Maybe I could pose it better with a question. How do you get individuals to work together for a collective goal that doesn't maximize their individual benefit? For example, if you got 5 people working together, and it's the prisoner's dilemma. It's the prisoner's dilemma. If anybody has studied the prisoner's dilemma, it is literally the prisoner's dilemma, but just expanded for international relations and a global concept. The prisoner's dilemma is this. You got 2 people. They're both in prison. I'm paraphrasing. This is the best way I can remember it. 2 people, they're both in prison. If they cooperate, they can either both get out or both get away with a shorter term, shorter sentence. That's if they cooperate. If they don't cooperate, one of them is going to end up getting more time. So the incentive is for prisoner B to turn state on prisoner A because prisoner B can get less time. Prisoner A has the same incentive to turn on prisoner B. So if they're both turning on each other, what happens? They both lose. If they both work together, what happens? They both win. If one works together and the other one betrays you, what do you have? You get a middle finger, right? You get one person screwed, one person gets off. In that scenario, this is important, and I hope you can visualize it. So let me just break it down one more time. You and your significant other are raided by the feds, right? They got you dead to rights. Or maybe they don't. It doesn't matter. They're interrogating you in separate rooms. You in one room, your spouse in another room. If you two work together and both of you just quiet, don't say nothing, we're not cooperating with these pigs, right? You both get off. Or at a minimum, you both get a reduced sentence. Either way, if you work together, you come out on top. If your spouse flips on you, your spouse gets off with no time and you get all the time. You flip on your spouse, you get free. Now, some of y'all are already thinking, I'm going to flip on my spouse. That's what you're already thinking. I already know. Y'all out here thinking, oh, my spouse, oh, his ass he's going to jail for life. The problem that we have on the international stage is that we've created a system that incentivizes betraying each other, trying to maximize our own individual benefit. Capitalism incentivizes greed. And so everyone has an incentive to stab someone else in the back when if we cooperated, we would have benefit for everybody. It won't be your maximum benefit. Of course you can make more money if you exploit labor across the globe. Of course you can make more money if you invade Iraq and exploit them for their oil. Of course you can make more money if you obliterate lives in the Middle East, dropping bombs from drones for profit. But the collective humanity loses. To Glenda's question, cooperation and coordination of resources makes sense to me. That's because you're operating with a different mindset. Cooperation and coordination of resources makes sense to you, but to people who have power, it's completely asinine. We're dealing with people who fundamentally view cooperation as a weakness. Or at a minimum, they view it as a missed opportunity. Because if I can get $5 more by turning on you, there are people on this planet who are like, okay, yeah, I'm turning on you because I need that $5 extra. And while that may not calculate to you, you're like, that's ridiculous. Why would you? To them, they honestly, genuinely think that you are ridiculous for not turning on that person and taking that $5. Our core moralities are different. As I always give this caveat, it doesn't mean that we're right all the time. It doesn't mean that we are inherently good. I've had to catch myself. I had a couple of videos go viral last month. By the way, go watch all my videos. And what did I do? I started thinking like, man, if I get every month like this, man, I can go rent out a yacht when this is over and I can get like 20 models and we just go out there and, it's not that I'm inherently good. It's the fact that I have to constantly remind myself to work against my nature that always pushes me to do the selfish thing. It's in our nature to be selfish. And so if you have in our individual nature to be selfish, then of course you have in our collective nature to be selfish. So as you pose your question, it's a brilliant question. It really is a brilliant question. The fact that the simple answer is because there are people who are not only inherently selfish, just like you and I, but to them, it's only logical to give into that selfishness. To us, it's logical for us to work with cooperation. Now, here's the prisoner's dilemma. My professors, I hope my professors watch this and they're like, I taught him about that. Yeah, you did. And it's all come together now. Here's the prisoner's dilemma. If two people are sitting across the table, one of them has a natural inclination to be selfish. One of them has a natural inclination to be egalitarian or cooperate. What do you think the outcome is going to be? The outcome is going to be that this person is going to try to cooperate and this person is going to turn coat. And who loses and who wins? The good-hearted person loses. The evil-hearted person wins. And is that not the nature of our society right now? some of the biggest losses I've ever lost is because I honestly tried to do the right thing. Not because I'm always good. I don't ever want anybody who watches me to think that I'm inherently a good person. Okay? I've got some struggles. My wife will tell you all of them. But when you try to do the right thing, it leaves a window of opportunity for a person who has no regard for morality, collectivism, egalitarianism, and pure individualism and selfishness. They get the strategic opportunity and a strategic advantage over you. The answer to the prisoner's dilemma, well, not the answer, but an answer to the prisoner's dilemma is that the person who is more prone to cooperate loses. And the person who's more prone to betray you wins. My contention is that somehow, I don't know how yet, I haven't figured this shit out. Maybe you can figure it out. But somehow, those of us who have a natural inclination to do the right thing have got to find a way. I wish I had a disjointed finger. Have got to find a way to beat the person who has a natural inclination to do the wrong thing. We can try to appeal to them, but look at what we've got going on in this country and across this planet. We've been trying to appeal to the better nature of their humanity forever. And we lose. And we lose. Trying to appeal to the better humanity in people who have put in as much effort to suppress their greater humanity as we would put into enhancing our humanity. How do we win for collectivism, for cooperation, coordination of resources, for the greater good of humanity? It might mean that you don't it might mean that you don't take home $1 million a year. It might mean that you take home $750,000 a year. Are you okay with that? Are you willing to sacrifice for the collective good? Because there's a lot of people around you who are like, you're a moron. Man, you better take those Trump tax cuts. Psst, you better donate to that person over there who's going to make sure they give you a tax break. These are the competing forces that will always be there. We're not going to convince them. We're not going to change them. They're going to always be there, just like we're going to always be there. So what happens to our prisoner dilemma? Well, history to date suggests that the selfish person, the barbarian, not barbarian as history books dictated, but barbarian is how I'm defining it, is the person who would trample on the collective group in order for their own selfish individual needs. That's how I would define a barbarian, right? History has shown us that the barbarian wins, that the selfish person wins, that the greedy person wins. And somehow we've got to change that paradigm where the collective good actually wins. How much time we got left? Oh, we're already over time. Let me read a couple more comments. Sauce240 says, I feel like the baby boomers weren't taught enough detail of the rise of Nazism, fascism. Possibly. Crazy Hawaiian PA gifted a 1-tier sub to Nidoist. Thank you. Look up Margaret Singer, an expert on cults and how to deprogram them. She basically describes Trump and his following to a T. Margaret Singer and not Margaret Sanger. Singer, S-I-N-G-E-R. Whole Style Productions changed the world. Thank you for that super chat. Irish and Italians were the bad guys in the 1900s. That's from Mean Beans. Thank you for that. Anastasia Beaverhouse said, although plenty, you guys can see me rocking here, huh? Y'all can see me shaking? Sorry. It's usually below the camera. Let me move so you can't see my legs shaking. Although plenty of bad guys at the top, the mullahs, the evangelicals, equals extremist religious people. That's from Anastasia Beaverhouse on Twitch. Twitch, I need you to figure out where we're going. Where are we going? Who are we going to raid? Let's raid somebody tonight. We're going to raid in like the next 10 minutes, so make sure you figure out who we're going to raid. BDHU 2001 said the devil was trying to tempt Jesus and told him to throw, that's exactly what I was thinking when I said you could throw yourself off of a building and Jesus, Jesus ain't gonna come save you. But they picked up on that. I love that. They said when the devil was tempting Jesus in the Bible, it told Jesus to throw himself off the building. He said, test not your God. In other words, don't throw yourself into harm. I thought you were going to say don't throw yourself off a building. So please don't throw yourself off a building. But they said, in other words, don't throw yourself into harm to test if God will save you. I think that's what a lot of evangelicals are doing. Foodie Guy 441 subscribed on Twitch with Prime. Eric Sharman, Eric S. said, George Costanza, it's not a lie if you believe it. Brad Mara said, ignorance is bliss. You guys are coming with the hits tonight. Courtney Haynes on YouTube said, Trump is a microcosm of the liberal versus conservative divide. Whether it's systemic racism or COVID, we have all the data on our side, but we are forced to treat conspiracy theory as equal to science. That's annoying. That is, yes, thank you for that, Courtney. Nikki Dearest Gogo said, not stem cells, been embryonic kidney cells. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate that. I want to make sure we're accurate here. Richado, I don't know if I'm comfortable reading that last name, just full transparency. But Richado, thank you for the super chat for sure. As of today, 8.3 million votes has already been cast. I can see as many as 5 million votes a day being cast starting Monday. Absolutely dope. I love it. If it's your name, I'll read it. Richado Sissy Boy. That's your name, and I'll read it. I work really hard. And sometimes I work too hard. So it's your name. I'll read your name. BB Tanya said, gifted a 1-tier sub to Love Tap 9 and paying it forward. They're paying up for the gift that they got from Only One RIP. Thank you for paying it forward. TR Darkstorm FX cheered. Thank you for the cheer. Patrick Epps says on YouTube, thank you for the super chat. First of all, Patrick, he says he is using lawyers to suppress voting and gets ballots thrown out. That's exactly what's going on. Susie Foreman says, hello, Benjamin Dixon. We love you. I love you more. Oh, PunchCat07 coming from C-Town. Keep doing what you're doing. Leftists support leftists. Much love. Much love. Appreciate that. Do you have like a YouTube channel or something? You got a Patreon? AOC 202X. Well, I guess this ruins Hillary's chances of 20. They're talking about, I'm reading backwards. So this is talking about Mike Pompeo getting the emails from Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it's really going to mess up her chances in 2020. J-Dart, subscribe with Prime. Thank you for subscribing with Prime. If you want to support this stream, you could do so on Twitch without spending any money. Just use your Amazon Prime account and get your free subscription, right? They take money from Prime that you've already spent. You don't have to spend any more. Use your Amazon Prime dollars and they donate to us. Takes from Jeff Bezos and redistributes it to us. Anastasia Beaverhouse says, yes, yay, thank you for seeing my super chat. Yes. All right, let me double back, see what I miss. Okay. It's in another chat. Meadow-est with an N. He wants to make sure that everyone knows that his name's pronounced Meadow-est, like Meadow-est, but with an N. Gotcha. Be the Zebra, subscribe with Prime. Thank you for subscribing with Prime. Zelda Spence, thank you for the super sticker. Benny Loco says, I am America, I am Antifa. I'm definitely anti-fascist. Mary Beth O'Neill, oh my God, COVID is a prisoner's dilemma. Shelter, party. Everything. Almost everything, when it's a choice between doing what's good for you or what's good for the collective, can probably be best summarized by the prisoner's dilemma. But definitely, do I stay home or do I go party? And it's interesting, it's fascinating seeing how many people have chosen to go party. Now, obviously, some people are being forced back to work, essential workers, but there are a lot of people who are just out here literally just going to the club. Can you believe like there's strip clubs open right now? And I'm like, even on the cleanest days when there is no virus, it's like, y'all really going into you in COVID-19? Seriously? But they're so committed to whatever it is that their goal is, whatever it is that they want to take, that they can't sacrifice it for the collective good. But great observation, Mary Beth. Benny Loco said, hashtag love wins always. And they also said, we're all in this together, babies. Benny Loco also said, we are all a work in progress. Keyword, we. Absolutely. John also said, can we ever move past nationalism when the Olympics and World Cup exist? We get wild about sports rivalry. I know you're serious, but that's actually kind of funny. I don't know, but we got to. We have to. We have to find a way for collectivists to gain power with the knowledge that we're never going to be able to stop individualists ever. So long as there's a human mind to conceive of greed, somebody is going to sit in their room, never read a book on capitalism, never read Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, born June 5th, 1776. Or no, the book was published in 1776. He was born on June 5th. They never read anything about capitalism, greed, money, profit. Right? Take a person in complete isolation, and the only interaction they have is with the prisoner, right? The second prisoner. They will conceive of selfishness, because selfishness is not something that has to be taught. It is refined. I want to be sure you understand. It is refined. They can teach you how to refine your selfishness and turn it into $1 billion industry that comes at the expense of exploited workers across the globe. But just to actually conceive of the thought of selfishness, you can take a person who's been in complete isolation and only interacted with one person their entire life, and they will conceive of selfishness. I say that to say this: we'll never get rid of individualists. And I don't know that we want to get rid of individualists, because the only way we could get rid of them would be to brutally suppress them. And then we brutally suppress them only for somebody in the future to be sitting in a room by themselves, never been taught anything about capitalism or greed, and they just conceive of making a profit in selfishness. So the real question is how do we coexist simultaneously without the impediment of greed slowing down those of us who want to operate in collective good? I don't have the answer to that yet. AOC 202X says, I can't imagine the Earth ever being in a situation that we're in a Roddenberry universe, referring to Star Trek. That's depressing. Kimberly E, thank you for the support, #1 fan. Soma Stingray, thank you for the love. Mean Bean said, Ben should watch Barnacule's channel. Given the politics, I think he would like it. Sure. Okay, I'll look it up tonight when I lay in the bed. Can't forget Science Evolution. Robin Dixon, clearly related to me. You could look at the avatar and it kind of looks like just a slightly less melanin version of me. Slightly. What do you mean though? Can't forget Science/Evolution. Anastasia Rose says, how to be an anti-race. Okay, we're all the way back there. Okay, we double back. Great. That's the end of the show, folks. Oh, wow, we got 2,100 people still here. I tell you what, you're still here. What the hell? I feel pretty good tonight. Last night I was tired. I didn't do the dumb thing, and I did not take Jake, that is a deal. And matter of fact, Jake, I might even talk about it tonight. Let's take like 60 seconds. I'm going to go back into my kitchen and I want you to share. If you haven't shared already, I'm going to take my mic off. I'm going to play some music and let's just go into overtime. Let's do like at least 15 more minutes because 2,000 people are still here. I take it you guys are enjoying it. And, you know, who am I to cut off a stream with 2,000 people? All right, so let's play a little music. Hang on, let me see if I can find something better than the last song. The last song was cool, but something better. Let me see. Let me see. And if you've already shared, I ask that you say hello to somebody in the chat room. Do I like this one? I don't know if I like this one. Hang on. I like this one. Here we go. Say hello to somebody in the chat room, get to know somebody, and go refill your drink. And we'll be back in about 30 seconds. Did the music stop already? Oh, the music stopped. I'm sorry. I'll make a playlist next time. Hang on, let's get one more song going. Go. All right, we're gonna stay on for a few more minutes. Let's see what everyone is talking about in the chat room. Interesting. Just reading comments here. Did everybody say hello to somebody? Luna Diana, they don't see Donald Trump as a fascist. They genuinely see him as their hero. You know, that's the wild thing. They genuinely see him as their hero. And we have to backtrack and ask the question, how is that the case? How can two people look at the same exact thing and see something fundamentally different? That's fascinating to me. Some of it is intentional. Some of it is opportunistic. Some of it is I am intentionally seeing him as a hero for my own personal ends and my own personal benefit, or because of my own personal grudge. I hate this group of people so much so that of course I'm going to see Donald Trump as a hero. Some of it's that. I honestly don't believe that every single Donald Trump supporter is a bad person. I reject that idea because I don't think everybody on our side is a good person. And I know that to be a fact. So if everybody on our side is not a good person, everybody on their side can't possibly be a bad person. What divides us, or what delineates good or bad for me, is what you do when you get new information. Information that challenges your position, your profit, your power. Prisoner's dilemma. You have the option of cooperating or not cooperating. If you get information that says, listen, if you work with your friend, you both get reduced sentences. But that's still a threat to you. And you know that if you work against your friend, you could get off scot-free and your friend could take all the sentence. Good or bad to me is what do you do in that moment when you're faced with the decision of what to do? Do I betray my friend for my own personal benefit? Do I betray the science that will hurt my quarterly profit margins because I'm in the industry, I'm in the energy sector? Do I lie to protect myself from information that is damaging? I think that there's an entire contingent of people on this planet that are not only our political rivals, some of them fight for the same stuff we fight for. But the moment they are presented with information that is a threat to their financial or personal benefit, really determines, to me, if they are a good person or a bad person. And it's not categorical. It's not like a permanent label. Like there are areas of my life where I look at this information and I reject it, or I try to suppress it, or I try to lie my way around it because it's just something like I just don't want to confront this right now. I don't think that makes me a bad person for the rest of my life, but this is an example of something that confronted me, and I had the option of telling the truth, and what I did, I lied to get around it. So to answer your question, unfortunately, guys, I think your comments are no longer coming up. That really sucks because I'm not seeing any new comments. Let me see. Producers, send me a message in the chat. I just want to make sure we're still live because nothing is moving. None of the numbers are moving. No comments are moving. And I just want to make sure everybody can still, that I'm actually still live before I keep going. Yeah. All right. Okay, great. I'm going to have to read the comments off of. All right. Hey, Samaria and Pam. I see everybody. James. Great. I'm going to have to read the comments off of my device. This is my producer. Yeah. Okay. They're not coming up on my computer anymore, but they are coming up on my phone. So I'll read your comments from there. Great. Good to see you here, Debbie from Ohio. Or no, Debbie Goins. Good to see you. Hayes Norris, good to see you. All right, good. Everybody's still here. What you do in the moment of when you're faced with information that could harm you, that's a delineating factor. And it's big stuff and it's little stuff. I think every one of us has a propensity to be disingenuous actors. This connects back to the question about how people can support a fascist. And I'm saying there's some people who knowingly see a fascist and don't care because it's in their personal benefit to not care. I think there's an other side to it. I hope that there's another side to it. This could be my naivete and this could be my empathy running amok. And perhaps before I even finish this sentence, maybe this election is kind of, no, I don't want to give this election that much credit. I was going to say that perhaps the election is kind of a delineating factor in people who can clearly see opposing sides and can be good faith actors or reveal themselves to be bad faith, disingenuous actors. Because like you said, how can someone knowingly vote for a fascist? I would like to say that about this election, but I don't want to give this election that much credit. I'm naive enough and I'm hopeful enough to believe that there's got to be somebody on the conservative side right now that is just grievously misinformed. Fed so much propaganda that they aren't able to see clearly that could be reached. I'm hoping that, because if this big of a percentage of American society is actively and knowingly, willingly, and complicitly working to help elect a fascist, then we have a much bigger fight on our hands. And instead of 2,000 people right now, we need 100,000 people in this room. We got to wait. We like that's how far behind we are. Not saying that to promote the show. I'm saying that if this many people in America right now are giddily like the cruelty is a point. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly who they're voting for. They know exactly what white supremacy is. They know exactly how the anti-Semitism runs deep, how the xenophobia runs deep, the Islamophobia runs deep, the homophobia runs deep. And they know exactly what if this many people are knowing collaborators with this evil system, the one that would destroy democracy, then we're so far behind the 8 ball that I got 2,000 people. We are as far away from progress as I am away from 100,000 people watching me right now. Probably more. So part of me is naive enough and empathetic and hopeful enough to think that there are some people on that side that we can reach, because if they're all bad faith actors who know exactly what they're doing and they're willing collaborators with fascism, then we've got a hell of a fight on our hands. And then you ask the question, like, not only how do we survive 2020, right? That's the immediate question. How do we survive 2020? How do we get this man out of power? Because electing Joe Biden is not a panacea. It's not utopia. It's far from it. There's going to be a long laundry list of things that we got to fight for, even with and against Joe Biden. But the first step to making progress is stopping the hemorrhaging and stopping the descent back into fascism. So the first step is 2020, but the real question is, like, how do we progress as a species beyond this? Like, how, my God, we got this many people who are cold, calculating, malevolent actors who know exactly what Donald Trump is doing, and they're getting shits and giggles out of it? Wow. That's a terrifying notion. And we would have so much more work to do. So here's my question for you. I'm going to jump back and forth on my devices to check the chat rooms. What do you think it is? Do you think that they're more, less, or equal amounts of people supporting Donald Trump who know exactly the type of evil that he is? Do you think there are more people who are just willingly doing it? Do you think it's equal? Or do you think that there are more people who are just unknowingly duped by the propaganda? I really want to know your answer to that. I'm going to check across all the chat rooms to see your answer to that. We still have 1,000 people on YouTube. What up, YouTube? What your 1,000 people? How many likes do we have? That's the real question. How many likes we got on YouTube? 957. Hey, I can't really ask for more. I can't ask for more. Yes, I can. Get it to 1,000. Blackberry Rabbit said it's equal. Ali C says they know. No middle ground said it's less. Ignorance is bliss. Rebecca Harry said more people, full stop. I can interpret that sign, full stop. Maggie Craigie says more. Jack Price says more. More. Michelle. Christian Hairston, more. A lot of mores. Let's go to Facebook. What do you think on Facebook? What are you saying on Facebook? More, less, or equal? More, less, or equal? It's a little bit of delay on Facebook, but that's okay. I'll get those answers in a second. Then we'll jump to Twitch. But it seems like overwhelmingly more people are saying more. More out of fear, Renee. Yep. Hi, Ronica Jones. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Renee Lowry. Okay, I already read you, Renee. Audrey Haywood said more. Let's see. Mary Reed says more. Bakita. Sorry, Bakita. You know your name. More. Oshana says more. Okay, so maybe I'm the only one. I'm the only naive one. So if that's what we're up against, if we're dealing with a group of people who are happily and they get joy, then we're behind the 8 ball, folks. We're behind the 8 ball. And I'm not saying this for self-promotion. I'm saying this out of almost sheer desperation. We got to get our numbers up. We got to get our numbers up. We got to get our numbers up to a level where we can rival the number of people who will malevolently participate in the destruction of our democracy, knowing that that's exactly what they're doing, and they're willing to do it for their own personal benefit. If those numbers are as high as you suspect, we got to get our numbers up. Not just me in this nighttime stream, but like, we got to get people who are aware of this. We got to get people who are aware of this and understand our individual role in combating this. Like, collectively, I think we can see how we could collectively combat this, right? We have a coalition, we form a coalition, we start in 2020, right? We keep it grounded. I get a little stargazy, but let's keep it grounded. We keep it grounded and we have a coalition to just beat back, because that's all we're doing in 2020. Joe Biden, to me, he might be to you guys, don't take this the wrong way, but you know who you come to listen to. I've been honest with you every night. Joe Biden is not a hero to me. He would be a hero only in the sense that he would be the person to actually get Donald Trump out of office. Salute. But he's not the solution to our long-term problems. he is what we need right now to just make it past 2020. Can we make it past 2020 and figure everything else out? The first move is a coalition big enough to stop the hemorrhaging, to stop Donald Trump. The second move is to expand that coalition, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of our understanding of the situation and the fight that we have on our hand. And expand the thinking, the consciousness of that group to the point that you understand that we are always going to have that group of people existing side by side with us forever. It's the wheat and the tare. It's the lion and the lamb. We can never get rid of them, because even if we successfully waged a war against them and we manage to somehow not lose our souls in the process, as soon as we obliterate all of those people, what's to stop someone from sitting in their room in isolation, never read a book about any of this era, never been exposed to any of it? What's to stop the idea from coming in their mind? We can police the streets, but we cannot police minds. So part of our job is to understand that this will always be here, but we always have to be prepared to organize around it and have more numbers. The bottom line, we got to outnumber these people. We got to outnumber these people in such a significant fashion that it is more rare to run into one of these individualists than it is a collectivist. And right now, we're living in a collectivist society. We're living in a collectivist era, the epoch of collectivism, of individualism. Sorry, I said it completely backwards. We're living in an individualist society. We're living in an individualist era, and we're living in an individualist epoch, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Forget it. It's late. I'm tired. My brain is not working as good as it should. But the point is that we have probably more people. We're just talking about the electorate. 2020, we're talking about the electorate. We probably have enough coalition to get rid of Donald Trump. Good. But if we talk about all the people who are not even going to go to vote, the non-voters, which is a bigger percentage of the voters in this country, some of the same folks who are still going out to the club, partying during COVID-19 when it could benefit us if they would just sit home. I think we are far outnumbered. Here's the second question. Not the potential, because potentially I think everyone could be a collectivist. I think everyone can be conditioned and trained and taught and shown the value of our collective good. I'm not talking about the potential. I'm talking about the raw numbers. Do you think we have more individualists in our society or more collectivists in our society? Notwithstanding, forget our power structure. Of course, our power structure is designed for individualists. Of course, capitalism is designed for individualism. Of course, America is designed for individualism and nationalism. I'm not talking about the power structure. I'm talking about if you pulled every individual on the planet into a room and discussed with them, would they be an individualist or a collectivist? Do we have more individualists or do we have more collectivists? Let me see your answers in the chat. I'm so far from inebriated, Vic. I'm sleepy is what I am. I work hard. Somebody in here saying, do not vote. Okay, I'm going to block you myself, my friend. Goodbye. And never come back. We got time for that. Let's see what you said. Individualists. Definitely individualists. 1 collectivist, 2 collectivists, 3 collectivists, 4, 5 collectivists, individualists. You broke up my flow. I was trying to get all the way to 7 and 8. So YouTube is overwhelmingly individualist. Let's see. I got 1 collectivist on Facebook, collectivist. Individualist. Hey, Brian, thank you for watching this with me on Facebook. Okay. Overwhelmingly individualists. We got our work cut out for us. It is an uphill battle, and it is overwhelmingly. But here's the thing, they can't stop us. I don't want to end on the bad note. I want to end on the hopeful note. They simply cannot stop us. We choose, we individually, they cannot force us to always buy the latest thing, the latest gadget, the latest widget. They can't force us to do that. They can't force us to consume more. They can't force us to give in to individualism. They can't force us to do that. They can't come and they would never be able to bring the soldiers to our doorsteps and say, go to the mall. Okay, I'll go to the mall, and guess what I'm gonna do? I'm buy the cheapest thing I could possibly find. Right? They cannot compel us to operate in this system in a way that glorifies and supports individualism. So while we're outnumbered, we are clearly outnumbered. We can still win. We have to win. 2020 depends on it. This upcoming election depends on it. More so than 2020, surviving COVID-19 depends on it, right? The behavior patterns that we're picking up during COVID-19 really is one that lends towards collectivism, right? We are consuming less. We're not driving and burning fossil fuels all the time. We're consuming less fossil fuels. We are thinking of other people. We wear a mask to help somebody else, not to help ourselves. So COVID-19 is introducing a level of thinking, a way of living that is collectivist. So it's not just 2020, the election, it's COVID-19, but then it is the future. It's like, how do we grow? How do we bring more people into the understanding of why it's important that if we take the prisoner's dilemma, if we work together, everybody wins. If we're individualists, nobody wins. And if one of us gets betrayed, then of course the individualist will win. But everything in history tells us that an individualist society that is rooted in greed inevitably destroys itself. An individualist society that is rooted in greed will inevitably destroy itself. We like to think of it as a far-off generation, but it's not. It could very well be our generation or the generation of our children. And I think we have a responsibility to ensure that we leave a better planet for the next generation. But more importantly than just leaving a better planet for the next generation, that we leave inside of the next generation the same desire to leave a better planet for their next generation. So we got our work cut out for us. Be encouraged though, because just be encouraged. We got this. We got this. Good night, everybody. I have finally hit the place where I'm tired. I am actually tired, and I'm going to go and get into bed. Take care of yourself. Have a great weekend. Unless there's some major breaking news, I probably won't do a stream tomorrow. There's usually some breaking news on Sunday, so we'll probably be back soon Sunday. Get some rest. Say goodbye to somebody in the stream before I end the stream. Find somebody to say goodnight to. Matter of fact, this is important. We're going to do this in every episode. Find somebody to tell them that you care about them. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't know any of you. Well, I know a couple of you. Bakita, we went to high school together. But Corrine, I know. But that's besides the point. Sorry. The point is this. The rest of you, I don't even know. But absolutely care about you. I absolutely am concerned about your well-being. I absolutely want you to survive COVID-19. I absolutely want you to get out of this vicious cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. So you don't have to know the person to care about them. So before we sign off, could you just tap your neighbor on the shoulder, message them in the chat room, tell somebody that you care about them, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll end with some music while you do that. This is the closing. You're leaving the church house with some music, except it's a little soul music. It's not gospel music. It's definitely soul music. There's some soul music. Give somebody a hug, and we'll see you next time. I don't really like this one, but it'll do. Good night, everybody. Oh, David, I hope you did the raid. Do the raid for me, David. Do the raid.